Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Halo Forge Epidemic. This is Psychoduck and I'm here with another competitive tutorial for you guys. Today we're looking at spawning, which was by far the most requested topic after the last video. So of course I've been reading all your comments and we'll be having more of these based on the rest of your requests soon. So anyways, spawning, today we're going to cover a lot of things from individual respawn point placement to dynamic spawns, static spawns, initial spawn placement, all kinds of good stuff. So a lot of it's pretty simple, and I think the best way to learn the placement of spawn points is to look at the maps made by Bungie already in the game. But things you'll learn is that you always need a good view from your spawn point. You need to be able to spawn and know exactly where you are. You don't want a wall or a death pit right in front of you because players will generally walk forward right off spawn. You don't want that. Initial spawns, same thing, except it's a bit more important to have them, you don't want the initial spawns within line of sight of each other like you can see here. You don't want them to be able to shoot each other off spawn, except in very rare cases. On countdown you can actually see the enemy team off spawn. But anyways, you generally don't want that. So you want to look at your paths coming off your spawn. So here I'm looking at like where you might go if you spawn on blue team at the start of the game. And of course you can do that for all your individual respawn points, but just looking at where players are going to go, what power weapons are going to pick up along their way, just where you're encouraging players to go off their spawns. That's just really important stuff. So where the spawns are facing, it's good to do to just put yourselves in the player's feet, stand on a spawn point, look at what you can see, make sure that you're in cover for the most part. There's not like a million places with line of sight on you. There should always be cover nearby at the very least, etc. Just simple stuff. It's just things that you gotta get the hang of. So you gotta a lot of it you have to figure out on your own. But I try to, again, keep all this in mind, think about the Bungie maps, and just, safe locations where it feels like it would be safe to spawn, facing generally towards the center of the map in a direction that players should want to go. That's the basis of it. As far as labeling spawn points, you don't have to do anything special, really simple. You just place them down. Generally want to put them in clusters, and of course everyone does it a little bit differently. So look at the Bungie maps, look at some of our maps. Just it's very simple once you get the hang of it. It's just something that you kind of have to learn by yourself, but I think these tips should help you guys out quite a bit. And then as far as having dynamic spawns, all that means is you can spawn anywhere on the map. It's great for asymmetrical maps generally. You'll spawn wherever's the safest, so there's no spawn zones or anything factored into that. So now I'm going to show you guys how to set up static spawns, which means that you can only spawn on basically your side of the map. So in like a flag game, you would want to not spawn on the enemy side of the map because you don't want players spawning near the enemy flag. So what I'm doing here is taking the same map exchange, which has dynamic spawning in Slayer, but I'm going to put static spawns in for objectives. So you can see that's where my red team flag is, this is where my blue team flag is, and of course this map is set up for one flag, or intended for one flag more than multi-flag, definitely. But look at your objective placement, which is something we'll probably cover later. But spawning, in regards to that, you definitely want to have some spawns more behind your objective and not right on top of it. That's good to think about. But anyways, yeah, so you don't want blue team spawning up at the top by red team's flag. So what you're going to do is you're going to put down a respawn zone, which basically you'll set it to blue team, and blue team will not be able to spawn outside of it. So I'm going to really quick go through, basically cover blue team's half of the map with this zone, and you can change how big you want it. You generally want some overlap, so like the middle of the map, so both teams can spawn there. But it's completely up to you, and it completely depends on the map. So it's, again, it's something you look at other maps, kind of learn from it, and then do it yourself, and just learn from that, and you'll just improve as you go. And you got to find your own way, basically. Keep these tips in mind again, but find what works best for you and the kind of maps you make, and it'll become second nature and be pretty straightforward, I think. So, to make it blue team, we're gonna set the zone, blue team, go into advanced, make it game specific true, CTF label. Now it's only going to be there in flag. We keep our dynamic spawns in Slayer. So I'm going to do the same thing on red side. Again, cover their whole side of the map, all their spawn points. They won't be able to spawn anywhere else. It is possible to break a respawn zone, but it's very difficult. And of course you can use anti-zones, but you really don't have to. But anyways, yeah, so covering red team's half of the map, gonna have some overlap so they can spawn in the center, like I said. And gonna set it to, basically the same label. It's gonna be red team with CTF, game specific true. So that's all you really have to do. And then you have static spawns. And of course you can have them in all game modes if you choose, but I like to have dynamic spawns in most game types, and then just put in static spawns for flag, assault, stockpile, etc. So let's say you have this area like over here where you want there to be more influence, where you want it to be more common for players to spawn. So what you do is you put a weak respawn zone. So I'm gonna make the radius cover all these spawns here, and set it to red team. And that'll just put some more influence on all these spawns within this radius, so it'll be more common to spawn there. Of course, you can do the opposite with an anti-zone, and you can use weak and anti-zones even in dynamic spawning, just set to neutral to create areas that just are more or less common to spawn on based on what you want. So if you have a really dangerous area, you might want to have an anti-zone on it, so that it's less likely for players to spawn there unless it really is the safest location on the map at that time. And then weak zones, do the opposite. So I think that covers everything. I know I went through kind of fast. Again, it is a broad topic, but I think what you guys will find is you'll start messing around with spawning and you'll get the hang of it pretty quick. It's really not as difficult as some of you may think. Look at other maps, learn from them, learn from this. Just put some thought into it, put some time into it, and I think you guys will get it. So anyways, this has been Psychoduck from the Halo Forge Epidemic. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps.